does not require us to hold public comment period. We have chosen to do so because we believe it's crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns and issues. The board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designated to be a debate or dialogue. Please do not expect the board to respond to your concerns and questions tonight. We take your concerns and questions seriously and want to have sufficient time to process and research if need be. We will have a proper staff member to get back to you as appropriate. I also want to point out that under state and federal privacy laws, we are unable to address any comments or questions about specific students or school personnel. We would ask you to go through the appropriate administrative channels. A total of 30 minutes to begin each board meeting is set aside to allow for public comment on agenda items only. Public comment at the beginning of the meeting is limited only to the items on the agenda. Persons who wish to participate in public comment portion of the meeting are asked to provide the name and the specific agenda item about which they wish to speak. Individual comments on agenda items limited to 3 minutes and are welcome. If you wish to address items related to a school district that are not on tonight's agenda, another comment period is provided at the end of the meeting for that purpose. In the interest of civility and respect for different points of view, clapping, booing, or any disturbance, obstruction during either public comment period is not permitted. At this point, recognition comments from Board of Education. Actually not. This time we have comments from the public. Are there any comments? Okay, seeing none. Recognition.
You can't hear.
Are there any comments? Oh, sorry. Did you hear my spiel? The beginning of at this time, are there any comments on agenda items only? Please come forward. There'll be.
They didn't hear anything.
Did they hear anything at all?
You have to get closer to the mic.
No,
Reread it? Okay, I'll reread it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to listen to public comment. Although state law does not require us to hold public comment period, we have chosen to do so because we believe it is crucial for us to hear from the community members about their concerns and issues. The board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed to be a debate or dialogue. Please do not expect board to respond to your comments and questions tonight. We take your concerns and questions seriously and want to have sufficient time to process and research issues if need be. We'll have the proper staff member get back to you as appropriate. I also want the public to point out that under state and federal privacy laws, we are unable to address any comments or questions about specific students or school personnel. We would ask you to go through the appropriate administrative channels. A total of 30 minutes at the beginning of each board meeting is set aside to allow for public comments on agenda items only. Public comments at the beginning of the meeting is limited to only the items on the agenda. Persons who wish to participate in the public comment portion of the meeting are asked to provide their name and the specific agenda items about which they wish to speak. Individual comments on agenda items is limited to 3 minutes and are welcome. If you wish to address items relating to a school district that are not on tonight's agenda, another comment period is provided at the end of the board meeting. In the interest of civility and respect for different points of view, clapping, booing, and any disturbance or disruption during either public comment period is not permitted. At this time, if there are any individual who wants to address any agenda item, please come forward. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Tamulonis. I had a quick question in regards to item 6.06, consultation agreements. Some of the titles that are being listed for the consultation for therapists or outside services, usually done in-house, with speech therapy, physical therapy, stuff of that nature. See that you're outsourcing it at the hourly rate is definitely more than one person. I'm just curious, is it because of vacancies, so you can't find people? Has there been an outreach of per diems, stuff of that nature, or we're just going straight to a third-party vendor? Just curious.
As I said, we cannot respond at this time. Perhaps after the meetings, somebody can address that particular question.
Well, if I can just interject, we will have our Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Richard Zip. Ms. Pedro, could you do me a favor? you have all of the information. If you could take that down, and Mr. Zip will work on getting you a response tomorrow, sir.
Thank you.
You're
Should I
very
give,
welcome.
I'll give her my info later.
Please do if you would.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Seeing none, recognition comments by Board of Education. Does anyone have any recognition that they'd like to state at this time?
I had the excellent opportunity of attending virtually, since it was a virtual conference, the Teachers College Reading and Writing Project reunion, they call it. They hold one in the fall and one in the spring. And Mrs. Crandall told us about it. And this is I've attended a number of them. A number of our teachers and administrators also did. And it was very informative, excellent information, wonderful professional development, and it reinforces my very high opinion of Ms. Crandall's work in having our school district participate in this. And I appreciate having had the opportunity to see it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Spencer?
I'd just like to congratulate the students at John Jay. I went to the French Honor Society induction last Thursday, and I just want to congratulate all of the inductees on their scholastic achievement. Thank you.
Yes, I would also like to just add to that about the French Honor Society. It was run so smoothly and beautifully. It was a lovely occasion.
Mr. Morgan?
Similar to the last two comments, at this time of year, there have been several student recognition events for outstanding academic achievement. I'd just like to offer all of the students my congratulations. Also, as a district, we just concluded a successful fall athletic season. Congratulations to all of our competitors at all of our secondary schools. From the modified level up to the varsity level and JV in between on a successful season. Thank you.
Anyone? Jim?
Might as well keep it going. I just want to thank Dr. Baum and Ms. Pedro. We had a board retreat last week as well. And it's, I've been on the board for probably my fourth year, but it's good to have these board retreats so that you can brush up on your responsibilities and the ideals and the spirit of the Board of Education. So I just want to thank you for putting on a really good show.
I also like, Carrie? Go ahead.
I feel like every 2 weeks, we come and we pledge allegiance to the flag. The kids do it every day. I know that they're learning, why, but next week's Veterans Day. So I think in honor of our veterans, I wanted to express my gratitude for the men and women who have served and currently are serving. Their courage and iron will is what allows us to enjoy, the rights, privileges, freedoms, and liberties that we have. And again, all the mark of that flag that make America great. And we pledge allegiance and we say one nation under God with liberty and justice for all. So I wanted to thank those men and women, the veterans, thank, God for the flag and what it represents. So thank you to the veterans. And that's my gratitude this week.
I too also want to thank Trustee Kellen, Morgan, Spencer for participating in the induction ceremony of John Jay French Honor Society. Congratulations to all the inductees. I know that some board members are working and haven't been able to attend, but the ceremony was well done. I even tried to speak some French and they all laughed. Congratulations to our RCK student, Ms. Cameron Coates, who will represent our district at the All State Music Conference this year. And last but not least, Mr. Morgan had mentioned sports. I'd like to congratulate John Jay girls soccer team for reaching the girls soccer sectional finals. Congratulations to them. So that's it for the time being. John.
And in line with, or to piggyback on what Trustee Cahill was just speaking about, several of the district schools have special ceremonies to recognize veterans, that they invite veterans to come to that. And I would encourage our community to go out and support our school district and our young students expressing their gratitude towards those veterans if you have the opportunity.
Thank you, Chair. 4.03, community reports. Oh, I'm sorry, Michael, don't go ahead, Mike.
So I would just like to thank Royce Ketchum. They had the homecoming dance. They had several football games involved, and they invited me to attend. The homecoming dance was beautiful. There was no out-of-line events, even though there was some rain that the children had to cope with that night. They really, really had a good time. And everyone I spoke to, all the students leaving the event, everyone I spoke to said, we're glad to be back. This is what it's all about. And this is what these kids were missing all last year. And now that it's starting to come back, they felt very appreciative that they were allowed to do this. So I just want to thank RCK for allowing me to participate in those events. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mike. Committee reports, capital improvement, Chair Floshauer.
Thank you, President Lumia. We had our meeting this past October 13th, just some quick updates. Some of these items are a bit repetitive, so they're really just updates. The RCK HVAC finalized the punch list. Should be, as of the 13th, there's still about another week or so for those items to be done. I would anticipate that they're already complete. Have more of an update at the next meeting when we're doing committee reports. Balancing of the systems is still going on, and the reason for that is we're just starting to get into some weather change, so we just have to make sure that the systems are working correctly as we get into the colder time of year. Thankfully, the repair work on the John Jay roof is completed. There was some minor site work cleanup that had to be done. I anticipate that that's already been completed because it was supposed to be done by the end of October. A little bit of a setback with the Myers Corners elementary playground, which we spent a lot of time getting done and then getting approved. And then unfortunately, there'll be a slight delay due to circumstances beyond everyone's control these days. But we are anticipating the equipment to arrive at the beginning of this month for installation to start. Just want to thank the Myers Corner community for being patient. I know they've waited a long time for this, so we do apologize. But as I said, circumstances beyond our control with regards to getting the actual equipment delivered. But facilities will do the best they can to get it in, hopefully before it gets a little too cold. With regards to the additional projects on the phase 4, which the board had approved, some site surveys have been underway and were finally completed. Those particular projects, just to refresh everyone's memory, is leftover money from our first 2 phases. This is not additional money. The committee made recommendations to the board to allocate that for some minor projects throughout the district. Our architects have put together plans, sent that up to the state education department. There's a 4 to 6 week turnaround time, then anticipating hopefully approval by the beginning of the year, and then either late January or February for bids to go out, and that phase 4 work to be completed over the summer. So those small projects are done by the time school starts the following September. Some additional good news to share. As everyone knows, we do have some traffic issues throughout the district. One of the main issues is at John Jay. The district's been working with the town of East Fishkill. If some people have noticed, there's been some construction work on Auditorium Drive. That's going to become a new student drop-off. There is some additional work that still has to be done. The target for having that project completed, I believe, is by next September for the school year. I'll keep everybody updated as the district continues to work with the town of East Fishkill on that particular project. Real quick, it'll be a new student drop-off. The town is taking care of all the construction. The responsibility of the district will be a construction of walkway and lighting from the road into the building. And as I said, I'll keep everybody updated on that as that project continues to, I should say, let's put it this way, when you got to deal with municipalities and a lot of different moving parts with the state and private companies, just be patient. It takes some time, but it is a project that both the district and the town want done. And as I said, we anticipate it being done by September for the next school year. So that's it for them. And I'll just move real quickly for legislative action. No new details at this time, other than we'll have a meeting this coming Thursday. Moving on to some additional goals that we have. At the last board meeting, a letter was submitted. Board made a decision not to move forward at this time on that. So the committee will be focusing right now on its other goals that were approved by the board, unless it's instructed otherwise. That's it. Thank you.
Wellness, Brandon?
Good evening. On October 6th. Thank you. Good evening, thank you. On October 6th, the Wellness Committee met for the first time for the 21-22 school year. It was wonderful to see everybody's face on Zoom. However, we did have something to discuss that will be at the next public meeting. We have wellness procedures and standards that will be presented to the board. It's required to be done every 3 years. So the committee was tasked with, number one, reviewing the procedures and standards. We made some adjustments. And then there was also additional homework to look at the presentation that will be coming to the board at the November 15th meeting. We had a really great conversation about food service, some social and emotional issues, and we'll be having another meeting in January. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crandall. Policy, Chair Gillen.
The policy committee last month approved some changes. Basically, these are wording changes required by the state of New York. So you can read them in detail. They're up for second reading at this meeting, and they're really minor. It's just a matter of semantics, really. We're having our next meeting this Wednesday, and we'll be discussing and reviewing basically the 6,000 section of the policy manual with a couple in the 8,000s. They're all related to business and financial management. Thank you.
New York State School Board Association Convention. New York State School Board Association Convention, Ms. Killen.
Right. Okay, I attended virtually the business meeting of the New York State School Boards Association, and you can see the resolutions, the comments, and the positions taken by different members of our board, and the outcomes of all of them on the website. Basically, the resolutions approved by the Resolutions Committee of the Association were all passed except for number 15. Number 15 said, resolved that the New York State School Boards Association supports state legislation to establish guidelines for school districts for identifying and capturing data and creating metrics for initiatives that mitigate the damaging effects associated with climate change, so as to more effectively communicate expectations and monitor outcomes when planning and implementing school budgets. The discussion during the meeting was basically that although this is good and we all want to prevent damage from climate change, that the school districts are not really equipped to figure out exactly what damage might be done, and that this is really the job of the Department of Environmental Conservation. And the state should come up with do the research and find out, and not give us some more work to do, since we're spending so much time trying to educate students. And we'll be happy to use their data after they figure it out themselves. So that's why that went down. The other thing that went down was the proposed bylaws change, number 4, which was they wanted to be assured of more specifics about having the meetings in person. The reason it was virtual was, of course, because of the pandemic, and last year and this year because the Hilton Hotel, where they had made reservations for the convention, was not yet opened, and so they couldn't do it. And it went down because the executive board explained that they had not anticipated the situation that they faced with the pandemic or shutting of the hotel, and that it might have happened that way in the future, so they wouldn't be able to do this with such long notice ahead of time because these things had happened quickly. So pretty much most people agreed that that seemed logical, and so we left them with the flexibility they already have. The resolutions that were proposed that were not recommended by the resolutions committee were all either withdrawn or failed to get enough support to even have a discussion. So they all went down. I also attended virtually the convention that they held the following Monday, which all members of the boards in New York State who were members of the association were invited to attend for free, which was very nice because it saved our district money. And they had some excellent speakers, including Susanna Loeb, who spoke about effective tutoring. And it sounds as though some of the things they were recommending are things our district is doing, which was good to hear. We had a talk very inspiring by Scott Murray about toward wellness, and talking about the fact that we should not be negative when we discuss these things, because actually it's a small number of children who have severe problems. Most children just need encouragement and support, and he suggested all sorts of very good things which our district is doing in a proactive way. For instance, the Positivity Project that we've been doing in the district to make students feel supported and included, and build on their sources of strength, which are mental health, physical health, spirituality, generosity, healthy activities, mentors, friends, and family support. Okay. Then we had a workshop on government in the sunshine about the open meetings law, which refreshed everybody's knowledge about what's required so that the public has an opportunity to hear and participate. And finally, we had a message of cohesion and hope by Juju Chang, who's co-author, anchor of the ABC News Nightline. And she was very inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you. It does. I should leave it on all the time. Thank you, Trustee Kellen, and the rest of the trustees for their fantastic work. 5.01, Superintendent Report. Dr. Bunk.
Thank you, President Lumia. I would like to lead off the superintendent's report this evening with a couple of comments. The first comment has to do with my gratitude to our athletic teams, our coaches, and our parents and our students. As we know, last year, we did not have a fall athletic season. This year we did. Was it easy? No. Did we get through it? Yes. Did the kids benefit? Absolutely they did. Needless to say, there were a number of protocols and procedures that needed to be followed to make sure that it was done safely, and it was. I would like to thank our students, I would like to thank our parents, and I would like to thank our coaches for all of the work that they did. In addition to what was mentioned, I also believe that the John Jay cheerleaders also won the division champions, I believe. So I'd like to share that. So congratulations. Veterans Day, Trustee Cahill, Trustee Morgan referred to it. Important day. Thank a vet on Veterans Day. We do have programs going on throughout our schools to recognize our veterans, to let them know that we will never forget for what they did for us to live here in the United States of America. So please support their programs, and if you get a chance, please thank a vet. I know it means a lot. Talk a little bit about the budget presentation that was put on the district website today, that will be sent out in a link in the educational update. I think it's important to indicate to the community that the theme of this year's budget presentation is connecting with our community. This is a budget that is not going to be just developed by the Board of Education or the administration. This is going to have community input. And to ensure that, there are going to be a number of presentations. Not only presentations at our schools, but presentations at local municipality meetings. I have spoken with many of our elected officials at our municipalities. They are looking forward to having us come and present. I feel it's necessary to be transparent and get the word out to the community as to exactly how much we're spending and what we're spending it on. You need to be informed before you go to vote for our budget. So for the first time that I'm aware of, we will be doing that, and we will probably have pretty close to about 25 budget presentations from the time the budget is adopted, right up until the budget vote. So looking forward to that and sharing that information. In addition to that, some of the dates that you should be familiar with, November the 1st, which is this evening, Superintendent Forum, a budget conversation. Again, there is a video that you can access that is on the district website. It will also be sent to you that you can click on in the educational update this week. January the 10th, General Support and Instruction Budget. There'll be a presentation. We'll have another Superintendent's Forum. We'll talk about transportation, undistributed budget information, the vehicle replacement plan that goes up every year. February the 28th, we'll have a Superintendent's Forum and a budget conversation in Spanish, which I will do the best that I can. April the 18th will be the deadline for the approval of the 22-23 budget from the Board of Education. We will have a community forum on May the 9th. And in addition to that, there will be presentations at schools and our local municipalities as well. Please take advantage of the opportunity to provide your feedback. I believe you know this information, but again, the budget email is budget@wcsdny.org. And obviously, we now have a website, and we will continue to talk about the important aspects of the 22-23 budget. Thank you. And before I conclude, it's great to be back in person. At the last virtual meeting, you saw me hold up some plaques and thank our board members. As you know, 2 weeks ago was Board Member Appreciation Week. So I want to thank the Board of Education for all that they do, making difficult decisions, doing tremendous amount of research on issues that impact our school districts, and they don't receive any compensation for it at all. So I would like to give them a round of applause, please. Thank you. And at this point, I'm going to hand out each individual's plaques, and then at that point, President Lumia, you can take it from there.
I would like to thank Mr. Police, our education teacher, and the students who actually made these plaques. They did a phenomenal job. Thanks.
Me.
Thank you. 6.01 consent agenda resolution. Is there any board member want to take a resolution away? Seeing none?
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the following consent agenda items as stated. 6.02, 6.03, 6.04, 6.05, 6.06, 6.07, 6.08, 6.09, 6.10, 6.11, 6.12, 6.13, 6.14, 6.15, 6.16, 6.17, and 6.18.
Motion, second, Keith. All those in favor? Unanimous? Dr. Punk? It's all yours.
Thank you, members of the Board of Education and members of the community. We have an individual sitting out in the audience this evening who was just appointed to a new administrative role. The individual has been with us for 7 years as an Assistant Director of Special Education, has done an outstanding job, and now we know he will continue to do an outstanding job as an Assistant Principal at Royce C. Ketchum High School. Mr. Farron, would you please stand? Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, President Munoz.
7.02, second reading of adopted policies.
No, it's 7.01.
Let me go back. Oh, you're right. Approval of Newport Charter.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the new club charters for the Ketchum National Art Honor Society Club, the Ketchum Dungeons and Dragons Club, and the Ketchum Study Club at Royce C. Ketchum High School as submitted.
Motion, Marie Johnson, second. Keith, questions? Yes, Jim.
I'm really excited about all these clubs, Mr. Syke, but I'm really interested to hear about the Dungeons and Dragons Club once it's in full motion, and I'll be checking in to hear about the progress. That's it. Very popular club. You know, my friends were into Dungeons and Dragons when I was younger. I wasn't very good, so I'm really interested to hear how this thing's gonna work out, Mr. Syke.
I'm not sure whether the name actually represents what they're going to be, the fantastic work they're going to be doing. When I first saw that, I said, Dungeons and Dragons, what a name. But I think that the charter itself has a lot of good things. So I'm looking forward to getting a report from our Mr. Syke on the progress of that particular group. Thank you. 7.02.
We need to vote on the motion, Mr. Lemon.
I think all those in favor? Unanimous? 7.02, second reading of adopted policies.
Resolved that the Board of Education of the Wappinger Central School District hereby approves the second reading of and adopts the following policies based upon the first reading by the board and the recommendation of the policy committee as stated.
Motion. Marie, second. Mike, all those in favor? Unanimous. Request for addition to the agenda. I think that's the next one, I hope. Yep. Any additions? Okay, seeing none. 9.01, comments from the public. At this time, if you have any comments which are not agenda items, please come forward. Thank you.
Pam Lavelle from Fishkill. In June of this year, Dr. Bunk wrote a very impassioned letter to the governor about how inappropriate it was to mask our poor children. And then in August, presented a reopening plan requiring all of our children to wear masks for 9, 10 hours a day. What happened between June and August? The district got $8 million from the state, from the federal government to mask kids. You guys said you're not doctors, you're not medical doctors, so you couldn't opine on a vaccine mandate. But we're a very educated bunch of people here in Wappingers. The superintendent is a doctor. A lot of the administrators have doctorates. All of the teachers are master's degree teachers. So we teach civics. We understand how government works, how grant baiting works. We teach our children these things. We're literate. We could read the side of the box that says the masks don't prevent COVID. And we could, if we wanted to, look up online, a study by Brown University that says children born after the pandemic began have lost approximately 22 IQ points that they will never recover. Because they can't read faces. These are real consequences. In the meantime, the National School Boards Association is trying to convince the FBI that the parents who try to impart this important information that we need to consider are dangerous. You know what I think is dangerous? Passing the civil baton to a generation of doctors and engineers and plumbers and electricians with an average IQ of 78. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Valentina Manueli, and I want to start with a quote from Abraham Lincoln. Telling the truth during a time of universal deceit is a revolutionary act. So let's talk about the truth. The truth is we are not working together as a community. You all pretend to sit up there and listen to what my peers and I have to say, and I sit down here and I pretend that you hear me. You're pretending, I'm pretending, and we're pretending together. And while it's been fun, it's time to put our grown-up pants on and have a sincere, open dialogue about the issues being brought to your attention. I am so tired of this game. I was a single mom for a while. I bust my ass. I wake up at 4 a.m. I work a full-time job. I volunteer part-time and I take care of my child. He is in the first grade, and on the first day of school this year, I received a call home 15 minutes after dropping him off saying he needed to be picked up because the mask he was wearing was inappropriate. The same mask that I wore as a volunteer inside his school this past Friday at a Halloween party for over 90 minutes. Not one staff member said anything, not even the staff members behind the vestibule and the front desk with their masks under the chin. The same mask that I have picked him up in early and on several occasions. The same mask that I'm wearing today. So I don't understand why we just can't talk. You switch to virtual meetings and it's just a never-ending game. And I am tired. We are all tired. And I just want to come to a conclusion. And lastly, you asked us tonight to thank a vet. How dare you ask us to thank our vets by pissing on the same Constitution that they risk their lives to defend. Thank you.
My name is Carmine Bertuono. I'm from Wabash Falls. I did have something with the review with all of you. I echo the two people spoke before me, and I think it's about time we start following the money. And if any additional funds are given to the state of New York, to the Board of Education for vaccination of our children, I think you have not really seen the parents of this community uprising yet. I will pull my children out of the school, like many others will, and they will not have any government intervention on health care. From the New England Journal of Medicine, April 1st, 2020. It is clear that masks serve symbolic roles. Masks are not only tools, they are also talismans. They may help increase healthcare workers' perceived sense of safety, well-being, and trust in their hospital, although such reactions may not be strictly logical. We are all subject to fear and anxiety, especially during times of crisis. One might argue that fear and anxiety are better countered with data and education than with marginally beneficial masks, particularly in light of the worldwide mask shortage. But it is difficult to get clinicians to hear the message in the heat of the current crisis. Expanded masking protocols, greatest contribution may be to reduce transmission of anxiety over and above whatever role they may play in the reduction of the transmission of COVID-19. The CDC around 2017 did a study on the same mask I'm wearing and that every one of you are wearing, including N95 masks, regarding its ability to prevent smoke particles from getting into the lungs of an individual. The average size of smoke particle is 0.5 microns. The average size of a virus is 0.1 microns. That's 5 times the size. Why are we kidding ourselves as adults, as citizens of our community and our country, and damaging our children's lungs and health? We need you. You need us. It's about time you all stand up with your community. And honestly, if you are listening to us and convey you will listen to us, I encourage that. I look forward to it. But from what we've seen thus far, it doesn't seem like it. You need to represent us. That's why you're here.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Tamulonis. Most of you have probably either received the FOIL request, an email from me regarding various topics. Hopefully I get the answer within 20 days, but my main point here, the letter from last week. At the last board meeting, you said you wouldn't be able to write a letter for the Legislative Action Committee. Yet in December 2019, it was okay you wrote a letter to the governor for the other mandate, vaccine mandate, and it was all fine. And some of you actually that are currently on the board were on the board back then. You had no problem signing it. I got 4 hours of commuting each day. I watch every video, I read every minute, I watch every agenda, and even for the committees. I'll tell you right now, a lot of questions. And not just about masks, not just about vaccine mandates, a lot of items. The public is going to get answers. That's all I got to say.
Good evening. My name is Pat Whalen. I'm here on behalf of 2 of my grandchildren that attend the school district. As one of the other parents had just mentioned, you got money from the federal government. You never get money for free. There's a hook. Don't let the children be the pawns. Don't use them. And the only good thing from this pandemic is that parents are finding out what's being taught in the schools. And parents are appalled. I'm appalled as a grandmother. And I gotta say, my head was in the sand 2 years ago before the pandemic hit. And now I know what's being taught in the schools. Critical race, gender identity, explicit sexual education for young elementary school children. This is outrageous. So the parents aren't gonna let this go. And I, as a grandparent, will not let it go. And as far as these masks, the damage these restrictions have caused far outweighs any threat from COVID. This has been a physically, spiritually, and emotionally unsafe place for our children, and the repercussions are well documented. They have been made to feel that the world is dangerous, have made them afraid of other people, and wearing a mask for 6 to 8 hours a day created an epidemic of anxiety, depression, and fear in the children, and it must stop. The CDC found that mental health-related emergency room visits increased 31% in 2020. Ironically, in May of 2020, the CDC released a scientific study on non-pharmaceutical measures for pandemic influenza in non-health settings, clearly stating in our systematic review, we identified 10 randomly controlled trials that reported as estimates of the effectiveness of face masks in reducing laboratory-confirmed influenza virus infections in the community. And in pooled analysis, we found no significant reduction in influenza transmission with the use of face masks. Yet the CDC still pushes the mask because this clearly isn't about science. While the masks serve no level of protection, scientific studies show that they lower oxygen levels in the blood while raising carbon dioxide levels, affect respiratory physiology function, actually trap exhaled viral pathogens, which increases the severity of viral load. They collect and colonize viruses and bacteria, are dangerous for those with asthma and other respiratory issues, and are a major threat to a child's development due to anxiety, sleep problems, and creating a fear of germs. Our kids all get together outside of school, play together as kids do, and they don't wear masks. Then they come here and they're forced to wear them. It serves no purpose, it doesn't protect them, and only harms them. None of this is based on logic or science. For the sake of the children, this is a mandate, it's not a law. And I go to many board meetings. I go to Arlington, I go to Hyde Park. And I gotta tell you, in Hyde Park, when we speak, they speak back. We have an open dialogue. You guys have to have an open dialogue. That's why parents are getting mad and they're getting irate. Speak back to us. Don't just stare and do nothing. Thank you.
Thank everyone for your comments. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Marie, second, Keith, all those in favor? Thank you.
I